Okay, so World War I was already the most catastrophically stupid war in human history. We're talking about a conflict where the best military strategy was literally have millions of men walk slowly toward machine guns. It was so dumb that it makes every other war look like a chess tournament run by MIT professors. But here is the thing. In a war filled with incompetent leaders, one guy managed to stand out as the absolute undisputed champion of terrible decisions. I'm talking about Franz Conrad von H.T. Zendorf, the chief of staff of Austria-Hungary. This guy was basically what you'd get if you combined a middle schooler with anger issues. A nice guy who won't stop texting his ex, and someone who plays Civilization on the easiest difficulty but still loses every game. Welcome to today's wacky history. Before we dive in, let me give you one number that explains everything. During his time as chief of staff, Conrad officially proposed going to war 25 times. Not 25 battles, 25 separate wars with different countries. This man looked at the map of Europe like it was a restaurant menu and he wanted to order everything. Serbia, let's invade. Italy, let's invade. Romania, why not? Russia. Obviously, he was like that drunk guy at a bar who wants to fight everyone in the room, except this drunk guy controlled an empire's entire military. And here is the absolutely insane part. One of his main motivations for wanting to start all these wars was to impress a married woman who repeatedly told him she wasn't interested. Yeah, this dude wanted to start World War I to get a girlfriend. It is like if someone decided to burn down an entire city just to get their crush to notice them. Except the city is Europe. And the crush is a woman who has blocked his number. The ultimate nice guy with an army. Let me introduce you to Conrad properly. Imagine if every user on Reddit is one guy's subreddit merged into one person, and then you gave that person an army. That is Conrad. This guy fell in love with a woman named Gina von Reininghaus. Small problem, she was already married, and she made it very clear she wasn't interested in him. Normal person response, feel sad for a while, then move on with your life. Conrad's response, write her over 3,000 love letters for 10 years straight, 3,000 letters. That is basically one letter every single day for over 8 years. And the content of these letters was basically the same thing over and over. I love you, we should be together. Also, I think we should invade Serbia. You look beautiful today. I believe preemptive war is necessary. He literally mixed romantic declarations with military strategy. It is like writing in your Tinder bio. Enjoys long walks on the beach and committing genocide. But here's the craziest part. He genuinely believed that if he could make Austria-Hungary great through a glorious war, Gina would fall in love with him. His logic was, if I become a great conqueror, she'll realize we're meant to be together. This is the ultimate I can fix her mentality, except reversed. It is she'll change her mind if I conquer the Balkans. Bro, that is not romance, that is restraining order behavior. The trilogy of terrible decisions. Now let's look at Conrad's greatest hits of bad decisions. Because this guy didn't just make one mistake, he made catastrophic failure a lifestyle. Stupid decision number 1. The let's fight everyone plan. Conrad's entire military philosophy can be summed up in 2 words. Hit first. His theory was preventive war. If you think you might fight someone in the future, why not just fight them now? This logic is like seeing a random person on the street and thinking, maybe someday this guy will annoy me, so I should punch him now. Between 1906 and 1914, Conrad officially proposed. War with Italy 6 times. Remember, Italy was their ally at the time. War with Serbia, at least 25 times. War with Russia, multiple times his boss. Emperor Franz Joseph basically had to keep saying, Conrad, calm down, we can't fight everyone. But Conrad was like a kid being told he can't have candy. The more you say no, the more he wants it. The emperor basically became Conrad's therapist, having to talk him down from starting a new war every week. Imagine your job being to prevent your employee from destroying the world. That was Franz Joseph's daily routine. Stupid decision number 2, fighting in the Alps. In winter, when World War I finally broke out, Conrad finally got what he wanted, war, but he immediately made a classic mistake that anyone who has ever played a video game knows you shouldn't make. He decided to launch a massive offensive on the Italian front in the Alps. In winter, let me repeat that, in the mountains. In winter in the Alps, Anyone, who has played Civilization or Total War, knows that fighting in mountains is already terrible. Fighting in mountains in winter, that is suicide. The game literally gives you a big red warning that says, don't do this. The result, 60% of Austria-Hungary's casualties weren't from combat. They were from freezing to death, avalanches, falling off cliffs, frostbite. Soldiers literally froze to death in their trenches. Some were buried alive by avalanches while sleeping. Some had their fingers fall off because they didn't have proper gloves. This wasn't war, it was a mass mountaineering accident. Conrad basically sent his army to climb Mount Everest and was shocked when they died from cold instead of enemy bullets. His response: "We need more offensives, dude. The problem isn't not enough offensives. The problem is you are fighting in a place where humans shouldn't survive." Stupid decision number 3, the Brusilov offensive, epic collapse in 1916. Russia launched the Brusilov offensive. One of the most successful offensives of World War I, and Conrad's army got absolutely destroyed. In a few months, Austria-Hungary lost 1.5 million soldiers, dead, wounded, or captured 1.5 million. This wasn't a defeat, it was a massacre. The loss was so catastrophic that Austria-Hungary never recovered. The empire basically became a puppet state of Germany, completely dependent on German support to keep fighting. Conrad turned what was once a great power into a patient on life support. By 1917, even the Germans were done with Conrad. Germany basically said, "Look, we know you are our ally, but you are so bad at this that we're taking over your army because you are ruining it for everyone." Imagine being so bad at your job that your coworker has to step in and say, "We'll do your job for you." That was Conrad's level. The ending, did he get the girl? So after all of this, 25 war proposals, millions dead, an empire collapsed. Did Conrad get the woman he wanted? The answer is yes. Gina's husband died in 1915, and Conrad finally married her the same year. So he did get what he wanted. It only cost 10 years of stalking, 3,000 letters, a world war, the destruction of an empire, and millions of lives. This is possibly the most expensive date in history. It is like burning $100 billion for a first date and then finding out she is not even that into you. Because here is the dark twist. There is no evidence Gina actually loved Conrad. She married him probably because she was a widow, and in 1915 Europe, widows didn't have many options. So Conrad destroyed an empire, killed millions, and got a woman who probably didn't even love him. This is the saddest, stupidest nice guy story ever told. Why smart people do dumb things. Conrad's story raises an important question. How does a well-educated, experienced military officer become so incompetent? The answer is complex, but it comes down to a few key factors. First, Conrad was a product of late 19th century social Darwinism. He genuinely believed war was natural, and that strong nations should conquer weak ones. It is like those people who believe in alpha male theory, except with an army second confirmation bias. Conrad only saw evidence that supported his theories and ignored all contradictory evidence. When his plans failed, he always blamed others, politicians, other generals, soldiers, and no one except himself. Third, sunk cost fallacy. Conrad invested so much time and energy into his war plans that he couldn't admit he was wrong. After each failure, his response wasn't "maybe my strategy is flawed, but we just need to try the same thing harder." Fourth, the corruption of power. Conrad was surrounded by yes men who rarely dared tell him the truth. Imagine if Elon Musk was surrounded only by people who told him every idea was brilliant, then gave him an army. Finally, personal obsession over rationality. Conrad let his obsession with Gina cloud his military judgment. He wanted to be a great conqueror to impress her, not a rational strategist. The story of Franz Conrad von H. Tenzendorf is a cautionary tale about what happens when personal obsession, incompetence, and power combine. He wanted to impress a woman through war and destroyed an empire. He believed he was a military genius and was actually a disaster. He had power without wisdom, passion without competence. Maybe the real lesson is, if you want to impress someone, try flowers instead of starting a world war. If you enjoyed this story about history's dumbest man, subscribe to Wacky History for more tales of smart people doing incredibly stupid things. Until next time, remember, never let someone who would get banned from Reddit run an army.